today for an in the kitchen edition of Mom Talk. So I'm excited to hear what Auntie Kirk is cooking and to share a cuppa, even though I'm technically not in my kitchen. We don't have anywhere to sit in our kitchen. We have a formal dining room, although not so formal because since this whole experience this year, the dining room has become the sewing room, the art and painting, craft, glue everything room with my daughter, the newspaper reading room. Here's Auntie Kirka, the mommy needs to get some work done computer room. So yeah, there's that. There's Auntie Kirka.
Hey, good morning.
Did audio.
I wish you would ask that question before the video question so that I wasn't sitting there like non-communicative as it's asking me while I'm going in. I have audio. I'm like, yes, let me in.
Yeah, it's weird that they ask you to connect audio after you join.
It's weird. It's weird though. I have a story about my AirPods this week. I went to go make a phone call. My bedroom, is on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
And I went to use them with my phone to make a phone call the other day, forgetting that the last place it was connected was this computer. So I thought it connected to my phone. I went to make a call and realized I could hear voices on my AirPods. It was my daughter. It was Harley's class. They connected to the computer. I'm like, whose voice is that?
Oh no.
It was her teacher. I just threw them back in the box and just made the call, using a different headset. But it was weird. I was like, who is that voice? I hadn't even dialed yet. It was really weird. Well, good morning.
Good morning. One more reason I like a cord. I know where it's plugged in. Well, most of the time.
It's the finding them that sometimes is a little.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Cheers, Mama.
Cheers.
Yeah. I ran out of coconut milk.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. I was drinking my coffee this morning going, yeah, having coffee and then not, or having coconut milk and then not having coconut milk.
Right.
It's a sad thing. Oh, here's a little, yes, baby girl.
Another shirt.
You need another shirt?
Another shirt.
Okay. Well, I have a half naked kid here. So
No, that's not good for camera.
No. So I'm going to take care of that real quick while you talk about your kitchen. I was talking about whether or not we had seating in the kitchen, and that's why I'm not in the kitchen.
Oh, seating in the kitchen. Well, right now, no, because in typical weekend fashion, my laundry is on the kitchen table, and the chairs in the baskets waiting to be folded because it was all washed yesterday. So seating in the kitchen right now, not really, which is why we like doing this virtually anyway. It gives us lots of room and we have an opportunity to talk to more people. And but we do like sitting in the kitchen. I remember growing up, we didn't have a kitchen table. We had kind of more of that. I grew up on Long Island, so we had kind of split level, and on that level was kitchen, dining room, living room. And we had just like a small kind of divider wall between the kitchen and the dining room, with like a pass through, and never failed, not even in the dining room. Everybody congregated in the kitchen, even if it was the summer and the pool was open and people were outside in the pool, and of course the door to the backyard was in the kitchen. Everybody congregated in the kitchen. We didn't even have bar stools for that pass through. It was just a pass through, and yeah, we didn't even have that, and everybody congregated in the kitchen. So if we were entertaining right now, my kitchen might be in a little bit of a different state, although I think all the dishes are finally done. But right now it's Sunday morning and my kitchen table in true form is full of laundry and some stage of folding. So that's the state of my kitchen table today.
Yeah, I was just talking about how this year has made the kitchen table, which is actually our dining table because we don't have seating in the kitchen, more about crafts
Mhm.
than my dad's about the only one that actually eats at the kitchen table anymore.
We actually have been eating at it more, probably a couple of times a week, just to gather, even though 3 out of 4 of us are home all day. We have been eating at it more. Usually the only thing that keeps us away from it is the fact that it's full of laundry. So usually the weekends. But we've been using it for crafts a little bit more, although we've got several desks in here, so sometimes we use the desks in the den here. And board games. We picked up a couple of new board games that we've been playing with the kids. Well, board/card games. Table games. I don't know, whatever you want to call them.
Games.
Yeah. But the kitchen's still been busy, actually probably busier than ever. Now that I'm home and can kind of make plans for dinner a little bit more, or a little bit easier if I forget to take the meat out in the morning. I could take it out at lunchtime and I can still make dinner or plan for dinner. So there's a little bit more of that. I've used a crock pot actually oddly more than I did when I was working in an office. That's weird. But trying new things, definitely trying new things in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Because,
well, even if you're just cutting out your commute time, that does give you a little bit of space to fill the crock pot in the morning.
mm-hmm. I mean, yes, I'm one of those that got on the sourdough bandwagon, but I'm even making my own bread now. But I appreciate it and I like it, and I actually like it more. My kids are not huge like day-to-day bread eaters. They're bagel eaters maybe, but not necessarily daily. They get their bread more from cereals, stuff like that. They prefer cereal than toast. They don't really do sandwiches. Neither one of them are really sandwich kids. Harley likes peanut butter more than Ollie does. Ollie grew up more with sun butter at daycare, even though we always have peanut butter in the house. So we like the sourdough and it's working, but I'm learning new recipes. I'm starting to dive into Pinterest and finding new things to do with my sourdough starter, like cinnamon rolls. And I love your pancake recipe that you gave me. So I think the newest one that I wanted to try was, what did I find the other day? Oh, dang. I can find it. That I wanted to try. No, I can't. Oh, focaccia bread.
Yeah. I did it once.
This was like a super simple recipe. Like very close to the bread recipe you gave me, where you mix it once, rise it twice, and you bake it.
Yeah, my focaccia recipe, it's not that it's hard. I need to sit down and figure out the timing because it's like making a levain and then adding the flour and proofing. And then you put it in a pan and you proof it, and then you arrest it. Then you actually poke it out, and then you rest it, and then you bake it.
Okay, I'm gonna send you this recipe.
One of those rests is like an 8 to 12 hour thing. So.
Oh yeah, I haven't tried this recipe, so I can't exactly say it works. I can't say it tastes good. But it's literally a lot like the bread recipe you gave me. It's you mix it in a bowl and it looks kind of ugly. right? Let it rest for like 3 or 4 hours, and then you stretch it out in the pan, poke it, let it rest for like another 2 hours, and then you bake it. Well, then you put like olive oil, whatever you want to put on top of it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. This one had like 3 rests, and yeah, it was like baking it at 8 o'clock at night or something. It's like, it doesn't bake for a super long time because it is thinner and it bakes at a higher temperature.
a focaccia at 8 o'clock at night. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the next day.
Yes, but it's one of those things like it's fine the next day, but like wouldn't it really, really great with dinner, like just a little bit warm, right. And yeah. And I'm not a person who can wait till 8 o'clock for dinner. I'm like, we need to be brushing our teeth.
We do it, well, we don't do it as often now as we did before. It's not something I like, but when you walk in the door at 6:30, dinner is sometimes 7:30, 8 o'clock if you really kind of get, if a recipe takes longer than you really thought it was going to take, which happens. But even now I've gotten stuck with bread. I tried to make a rosemary olive oil one once, and I was going to make it for dinner, but then I started it later than I planned on. So I wound up baking it after dinner. So we didn't have bread with dinner. It's okay. Because I don't believe that bread's bad for you necessarily. It just depends on how much you eat and which one you're eating.
What's in it?
What's in it? Yeah. So the sourdough I think is good for our bellies. And and again, we're not eating. I mean, I go through, when I was small, I don't know how to pronounce it, but round pool in a week for 4 people. So, and it makes good garlic bread. I've thrown some butter and a little bit of garlic powder and a little bit of basil on top, and then you just kind of like flip it and pan fry it like you would a grilled cheese, or just throw it in or even throw it in a toaster oven if you have a toaster oven, but depending on how you want it to like absorb. Yeah, and make garlic bread out of it. It works.
Yeah, garlic bread. Yeah. I posted about needing a good tomato sauce recipe, and still don't have one, like an actual recipe. But I was like, okay, well, maybe the missing element is the paste, because I never seem to buy it, have it on hand, whatever. And it just seems to be missing something when I just like roast tomatoes and garlic and onion and then blend them together with some spices and whatever. So I made a tomato conserva, which takes like at least 8 hours and 8 pounds of tomatoes. Yeah, well, I might make another batch of conserva soon. Well,
and
maybe not today,
conserva is
basically a tomato right before tomato paste. So kind of somewhere between like, it's not sweetened like a jelly, but it's cooked down to.
Okay.
It's not quite as dry as a paste. I'm sure you could keep cooking it down. Maybe a little slower than the recipe called, but yeah. It's good. The conserva was really good. But then I'm like, oh, since I don't really have a recipe, like how much cooked tomatoes do I add to the conserva to like, so it still seemed kind of watery or whatever. I think I maybe shouldn't have blended in all of the juice that came out when I roasted the tomatoes.
Oh, yeah, that'll water it down a little bit.
So
I know I've had that problem sometimes, even using, like if I use a canned diced tomato, when it comes with the water, sometimes I've kind of separated the two out so I could kind of control more of the liquid, even when it comes to sauce. or like a chili if I use diced tomatoes. It's amazing how much water and moisture tomatoes have in it.
Yeah, which is really great for you. I mean, it's nutrient dense water, and so I want to be utilizing it instead of like pouring it down the drain. I mean, I guess I could put it in the compost, although maybe not because it's had a little olive oil in it. But anyway, we ate it the other night. I didn't think it had a whole lot of punch. I might put it in a pan and cook it down a little bit, add a few more herbs and spices, cook it down a little bit more and see. Maybe it's just a mind trick because I've used a lot of yellow tomatoes, so it's kind of a pinky vodka sauce looking color.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody out there with a good tomato sauce recipe from some Italian grandma that wants to share it with me? I'm like, have all these beautiful tomatoes. I want to make some beautiful sauce.
I might have a friend or two that might have a recipe. I'll see. Like I said, I haven't ever made it straight from tomatoes. I've thought about it a couple of times, but I haven't actually done it. I'm too afraid.
And like 2 years ago, I had San Marzanos for
yum.
Like I was picking San Marzanos in October, and I live in the Midwest, so that's I mean, I probably had 20 pounds of San Marzanos that were ripening in the basement.
Oh, yum. I found a can, Mere Glen.
Mm-hmm.
They have a roasted San Marzano that I started using in my sauce. It's just so good, and it's a crushed tomato instead of the diced, and it's just added another kind of just layer of flavor to the sauce that I've been making.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm getting hungry for breakfast. One thing I've been doing, so I don't have a tomato sauce recipe. One thing that I've been doing, so I got this amazing cookbook from a friend of ours for my birthday. Wait, camera. I love these backgrounds, but it makes it really hard to hold things up.
I gotta be.
There we go. It's the Magnolia table. There we go.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I love Chip and Joanne. I'm sorry. I know they're not everybody's cup of tea. I do like their design aesthetic. And so one thing I will say about this is they are definitely down home Texas recipes. They are filled with dairy, but like whole fat, whole dairy. She does use some canned items, so like canned cream of chicken, things like that. But what I love to do with books like this, because I love down home recipes. I grew up not necessarily with southern U.S. recipes. I grew up with that European cook meat in a pot all day, serve it with noodles and a nice loaf of bread, kind of meals, and that's what I love. I love cookbooks that can do that. I love getting these, even though they may not be the most quote unquote healthy because they use some processed
serious lack of green.
No, actually, she has got some amazing vegetable recipes in here that don't involve dairy, that don't involve well, I guess this involves cream, but it sounds amazing. Roasted asparagus with red wine béarnaise. But what I love doing with recipes like this is if they don't kind of fit into some of that, is I'll make them the first time or two the way the recipe calls for, and then find ways to adapt, right? So it's like, okay, so the pot pie recipe called for 2 cans of cream of chicken soup, and that was the only piece that I thought was, not within, if I'm trying to avoid the processed foods, but I like the taste of it. How do I replace that? Trying to find a way to replace that, but then the rest of the recipe is good. I actually did her raspberry chipotle pork loin last night, and it uses that raspberry chipotle in a bottle, which actually isn't too bad when you read the
ingredients
on the side. I basically look for stuff that doesn't have corn syrup anyway, and it's not too bad. And it was just that and soy sauce, which I don't have soy sauce generally in the house anyway. So I use my liquid aminos and honey, which I use raw honey. So good. I marinated it for an hour, then threw it in a pan and then in the oven. I made grits for the first time, which is very cheesy. But if you have a meltable vegan cheese, right? Because it calls for Velveeta and cheddar cheese, and then cream. So the cream you could use canned coconut milk, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And
I
then
mean, it kind of depends on the recipe, but for grits,
yeah,
maybe.
it's just changing out the cheese. You'd have to find a meltable vegan cheese, but I bet you'd get something very similar. And gosh, it made enough that I'm gonna have to freeze some today because we're just not gonna get through. I mean, I would imagine her recipes make a lot because they're like a family of 6 or 7, something like that now. But there's a lot I want to get through because like there's Mexican rice in here. She does have some bread, biscuits. I might make biscuits for the first time. She has some dressing recipes. So yeah, I like to take, I kind of don't keep myself closed to just because she used canned stuff, which I didn't know when I didn't have a chance to go through this. I just looked at a couple of recipes before I said I wanted it. But just kind of staying open to, okay, well, these are good recipes, and they're, unless obviously you have to be careful, I know, with food allergies. If you're allergic to dairy, don't try any of these recipes without altering them first.
Yeah.
But Ollie tends not to like cheese anyway now. Not cheesy food, I should say. He's starting to eat cheese a little bit more if it's off of a brick of cheese. But even though he told his teacher he eats mac and cheese all the time at home, he will not sit down and eat. I gave him like a half a spoonful of mac and cheese the other night and he wouldn't eat it. He didn't like it. So
yeah.
Yeah. But those are kind of some of the new things that I'm doing. And going back to some of my old cookbooks, I've got some paleo cookbooks, so those are already grain-free. I've got one from Ireland that I kind of dug back out again to see if I can bring some of those. Cause that's a lot of roasted meats and stuff too. But that's a lot of stuff from scratch. Just seeing what I can kind of dig up. And of course, Pinterest has been my friend when it comes to at least baked goods.
Except if you're scrolling at the wrong time. Going to Pinterest looking for a recipe when you're already hungry is kind of like going to the grocery store.
Yeah. I still might make those brownies.
Oh,
that you sent
yes.
over to me yesterday. I have raspberries.
So speaking of recipes, we have an event tonight actually about a detox, which we were talking about nutrition and eating and all that kind of stuff and adapting recipes. Sometimes you adapt a recipe because you have a gluten-free friend coming over to dinner and you want to honor what is good for them, but you also want some kind of bread with dinner or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we adapt recipes because we're on a diet. Diet just means what you're eating, what you eat.
Mm-hmm.
But some people like to make it this short term or this specialty thing.
Restrictive.
Yeah. But sometimes we adapt recipes because we've found out one way or another, and this 10-day detox that we're going to be talking about tonight on the Facebooks is one of those times when you might find out that dairy really doesn't agree with you. Like you get super mucousy. You might notice that you're not bloated anymore, or you're having regular bowel movements when you cut that mac and cheese out of your diet. But like we've talked about before, we should enjoy food and be nourished by food. And there are memories and emotions tied with food. My grandma Maxine's macaroni and cheese was made with Cheese Whiz, but it is like heart healing food. And so when I found a sort of a replacement, because I don't do dairy for the most part, that tasted like her mac and cheese, it was like heavens opened up. I was so happy because I still wanted to have that experience when I wanted to have that experience, right? Like when I wanted to feel connected to her because I missed her. And so I think that altering recipes is a beneficial thing. And I think that there is a whole bunch of organic junk food out there. And I think, you can eat that way. My daughter eats way more of it than I would like, but I also do things like she really likes muffins. So I make these sourdough muffins, but I chock them full of every fruit and vegetable I can cram in there.
Yep.
But like you said, I don't think there's anything wrong with finding a recipe that has whatever in it. One of the things that I tried out that I really liked, bacalitos, something like that. It's, I don't know if it's Puerto Rican, Caribbean, South American. It's basically like fish and chips, like the fried fish kind of whatever. It's a street food. But I found a vegan version made with jackfruit. And of course, this is not something that you eat, or at least for me. I don't eat it every day. I'm not going to eat it every week. But every once in a while, it's kind of an interesting treat to make. But I haven't been able to find jackfruit around here that isn't already like barbecue. Like you can find barbecue jackfruit, but that's about it. And part of the reason that I made it was I bought this barbecue jackfruit and I didn't like the barbecue flavoring, so I rinsed all the jackfruit to try to get all the flavor, the sauce off. I'm like, but what do I do with it? And I found that recipe and it was tasty. It still had a little bit of twang from the vinegary barbecue sauce, but it was okay. So I think that there are fun ways to change up recipes and whatever. But while I'm still sourdoughing, and I do different things. I do English muffins. I do bread, which if I pour off the hooch, well, I don't know, my 4-year-old. I poured the hooch off instead of mixing it in, which is basically the waste product of the bacteria from it eating all the sugars, which is what makes sourdough really sour. It's the bacteria pee, Yeah. But you pour it off instead of mixing it into your starter, then you have a less sour sourdough. And I made a batch of rye and wheat sourdough. My daughter ate it. And then the next week I mixed in the hooch before I thought about it. I made the she wouldn't eat it.
Well, and that's what I liked about that brownie recipe too, is making some of the swaps.
Yes, which is, yes.
And it's chocolate.
No, that's bringing me back around. So we were talking.
I was also, I guess I could talk about bread all day too. It totally.
Yeah. So
chocolate. So.
So yeah, we're posting tonight a brownie recipe that is detox approved, which is awesome. So it's refined sugar, dairy, gluten-free brownies.
It has fresh raspberries, which I have fresh raspberries because we just went to Costco on Friday. we did our monthly picking up of almond milk. So looking for, I always look for alternatives because there's certain things that are more expensive when you do swaps too sometimes. So Costco, I get my almond milk from there because it's one that I found that doesn't have carrageenan in it. And then I use maple syrup in my coffee. So I get it from there. But the raspberries, the kids always love raspberries.
Yeah.
So we have raspberries in the house right now, and we just got our delivery complete. We got plenty of chocolate.
Yay.
So yum. So I'm looking forward. I might make that this afternoon. So I'll see if I have those on hand to show.
Of course. It's swapping out things just to make them healthier is a good thing, but it still should taste good. I mean, was it Prue on Great British Baking? She's like, it needs to be worth the calories. Like,
yep.
So even if it's a baked good that doesn't have flour, refined sugars, and whatever, so it's redeemed itself nutritionally. If it doesn't taste good, why bother? Like, I'm not going to get satisfaction from eating a brownie that tastes like cardboard, right? I mean, our Thursday
or like
night,
a sponge, right? Like,
yeah, like
when you change out flour, sometimes you get that like the texture changes.
You can chew it, and you might as well swallow some gum. Because So yeah, if we're gonna make it a great nutritional thing, it still needs to taste good. And those brownies are gonna taste good.
I'm gonna see. So I'm gonna see where they go because I started making brownies from, I tend to have cacao powder in the house more, so it's kind of that when I want a brownie, I've just started to change things out instead of getting the box. I keep cacao powder in my house, and I've got either coconut sugar or turbinado sugar, so I do that kind of a swap instead of the refined white sugar. This way, like you said, it's got to taste good. So if I'm going to, there's no bad food. There's just foods not to eat in large quantity. So if you can make a food a little bit more down to the original sources of the ingredients, then eat one instead of three and enjoy the taste and save the rest.
Yeah, and that's what I found too, is the less satisfying it is, the more I eat.
Because you're almost like waiting for it, right? Like, oh, this is gonna get better.
Right, and a lot of times those cravings is your body actually wanting a specific nutrient. And so if you eat the little Debbie cake or, the ho-ho, thinking that you want chocolate, but you're not getting the magnesium and whatever from the cacao and all that your body is craving, your body is still gonna want that thing. And if you allow your brain to say, oh, just have another ho-ho, then you're still gonna be in that cycle of whatever, because now your body's like, oh, sugar, let's have more of that.
Well, now you've got the sugar cycle going too on top of that, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I'm just making all things tomato jam, tomato conserva. It's just outside. I think I don't know, easily 15 pounds of tomatoes on our cabinet. And I want to do a roasted. I got a couple of jalapenos from a girlfriend. And so I think I want to do a roasted tomato salsa. Because I also have a bunch of onions. To use, so maybe a roasted tomato salsa. Got to get better at making cassava tortillas, though. Corn doesn't really agree with me. And if I have some fresh salsa or pico, I'm going to want to just eat all the chips. So
Yeah, there's kind of that mental association between the two. I found a recipe online for, you might be able to swap out, instead of tortillas, doing roti. It's just a simple, I found it's a super simple, because I was looking for something to do with the wheat flour, just again, trying to find alternative recipes and trying to do that. And it was like, there's like 3 ingredients in this roti. It involves wheat flour too.
it's just
But I bet you could use white flour.
it's a flatbread.
Yeah.
And I can make decent tortillas. Just regular flour tortillas. No.
I've never, so I've never, I want to, but.
Oh, they're not hard.
No.
I've made them on my lunch break, so they're not.
Oh. I guess they've always seemed.
I guess I technically don't have a lunch break, but in the lunch hour that I have before work.
In the lunch hour. In the lunch
hour, I've made tortillas while making lunch and eating. So it's maybe even easier than pancakes. Or I don't make batches big enough like I would make batches of pancakes a year forever.
I'm a big freezer, you know that.
I know.
Make a double batch of something, just freeze the rest. I still have pancakes from last weekend in the freezer.
So do I. Which is kind of amazing, because I'll put them in the freezer and then my daughter will go on a pancake bench, so they don't last in the freezer very long. But
it's one of those things that either they're eaten in a day or they're still there 2 weeks later.
Yep.
I need to get myself a waffle iron just to change it up a little bit. I don't have a waffle iron.
I had my grandma's. It hates me. It could be that it's from 1967. I mean, it still has like the cloth covered cord. You know what I'm talking about, that's brown, that has a spiral of wire where it connects into the with the plug that's like Melamine, or that first round of plastic. But
so how it hasn't melted out by now is
although I kind of think I've figured it out with the pancakes. So when you add sourdough to it, or at least in my experience, you can't flip a pancake as soon as you would a non-sourdough pancake. So growing up, I learned, you watch for a couple bubbles, you watch for bubbles around the edge, and then you flip it. Well, sourdough, for me, I found you have to get it solidly packed with bubbles and almost so it loses that sheen on the top before you flip it. Otherwise, it sticks to the pan.
Yeah.
So with the waffle iron, you have to make sure you get it full. You can't just pour a little in whatever, because it will stick to the tops and bottom.
Oh, right.
And there's no peeky look and see if it's almost done.
Right.
You're hurting yourself that way. So I think that's part of it. And then, so I dug mine. My life is mostly in boxes, so I dug mine out because my grandmother's hated me. I dug mine out, which is from the 90s, when I graduated high school, and it got dropped in the plastic handle that you can use to lift it open, got broken off.
Oh, yeah.
Like, well, you can't really open it now. And who buys a replacement plastic handle from a, like you. Yeah. So we're back to pancakes, kind of like
we're back to pancakes. Might be time for breakfast. I mean, it is breakfast time around here.
Or lunchtime around here. Brunch. We'll have brunch.
Brunch sounds good. And then later we'll be around for dinner.
That's right. We will be.
Or dessert, because we're going to be talking maybe brownies. We'll see.
Brownies and mocktails.
Mm.
It'll
Wait,
be a good
it's
thing.
Sunday though. Brownies and mocktails. Well, mocktails mean you'll be ready for work in the morning.
That's right. That's right.
So we will. Next week is Labor Day. No, yeah. So we'll be around next weekend.
So,
I have to think about the following weekend. We've got a tournament, so I'm gonna double check the schedule around that. Because tournament season's coming back.
yay! Happy shooting.
Yay! We skipped one in Tucson this weekend because outdoor Arizona August. But and then she's also trying out for volleyball tomorrow.
Really? Wow.
So we'll see. But yeah, we have our first. This one's an indoor, Ellie. We have our first tournament in 2 weeks. And well, our first tournament in 6 months. You wait for me.
Good morning.
Oh.
Hi.
So, I mean, we're trying to figure out the rest of the fall schedule, but
Awesome.
yeah. But next weekend we'll be around. There should be a mom post, but first join us. Comment, let us know. I posted in Love, Joy, and Sprinkles with this link. So, and on my personal page. So let me know if you want to join us this evening.
That's right.
Or in the next 2 weeks, because it'll be open for a little bit.
That's the coffee store.
Yes, that is a coffee store. That's fun. I don't know where that coffee store is, though. I would love to find it, though.
Mhm. I want to know what's.
I know. I like how it has those baked goods. I think we're gonna make some cookie dough. You want to make some cookie dough later? We've been. I've been doing the make cookie dough, freeze it in balls, and put it in a Ziploc thing in the freezer so we can make 2 or 3 at a time. Don't pick our nose, please. No, don't. Ow!
It's just on the outside.
We've been doing that, and I'll make a batch of oatmeal raisin and a batch of chocolate chip because Daddy's favorite are oatmeal raisin, and mommy and Harley like chocolate chip. What do you like? You like oatmeal raisin? Yeah. We're not a chocolate fan. I'll go this way. There's less things this way. I'm gonna come make breakfast in just a second, okay? Getting off something.
Happy breakfast making.
It's breakfast today. It's breakfast time.
Yay.
I want to know what that one is. It's called the Train Freeze.
Train freeze.
The Train Freeze. I want to know what that is.
Oh,
What's a Train Freeze exactly?
I don't know. I wanted to know what. Does it say Jicama Junction above your head?
Irani
have-
Junction. Jirani. I don't know. But I would love some London fog because I'd love to be in London.
I want an affogato because I want to be in Italy. An affogato with lemon sorbet. Anyway.
Any of that because it means we're in a coffee shop.
Yes. And together. So
Okay.
happy
Next
breakfast.
Sunday.
Happy brunch. See you next week. Or maybe we'll see you in the event tonight on the Facebooks.
Yeah.
Ask us for an invite. All
Talk
right.
to you later.
Bye.
Bye.